All right, good evening, everybody. This is Community Board 7's Executive Committee meeting. I will start by reading our guidelines. On May 20th, 2023, Mayor Adams issued Executive Order 411, extending the state of emergency through June 19th, 2023. Accordingly, boards are able to continue to act under the state of emergency section of the video conferencing law. This allows the board to continue remotely. Minutes and video recording will be made available on our website. If you are calling into the meeting, controls will be as follows on a landline or a cell. To hear all available commands, enter ** on your phone, *6 to mute or unmute yourself, *9 to virtually raise your hand. Okay, we will run this meeting as follows. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and/or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee or any other assigned committee for a ban of the participant. The amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committee in the event of any repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities will be summoned. Everyone beside the speaker or presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, I will inquire if committee members have questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question by pressing the raised hand button on your screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair of the committee will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair, new business, or addressed at the next meeting, granted there is time and the committee agrees on the topic. Following the questions, discussion, and public comment portion, the committee will begin their discussion after each presentation or agenda item and will conclude with the decision to vote on a recommendation. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. If there are any questions related to the meeting software or to our process, please use the chat function or raise hand function now or contact the district manager. Okay, thank you for your patience. We will start with attendance. Okay. All right, Barbara Stronzer is present. Eric Asensio. Betty Arce. I know Betty is here, but it's...
I'm present. Betty Arce
Okay,
present.
thank you. Yahira Arias.
Shahira Arias present.
Okay. Michelle Avila. Andrew Leosa. Andrew?
Michelle, I think, said she was going to try to get on, but she
Okay.
was at a thing.
Okay. Andrew? Loris Acosta?
Lauris Acosta present.
Thank you. Edgar Ramos?
Edgar Ramos present.
Thank you. Chad Royer?
Chad Royer present.
Thank you. Victor Saldana? Victor? I believe he's on, or was.
He said he was driving, so he.
Yeah, okay, so we'll give credit for looking in. Ruth Caraballo?
This is
Present.
Victor present. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, we have you, Victor. Ruth?
Ruth Caravaggio present.
Thank you. Okay, did Eric come in? No. And Andrew Leosa? Okay. All right, we have a quorum. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a review of last month's minutes. I'll put them up. All right, I'll scroll through them slowly so you can take a look.
Sorry, Andrew Leosa is present.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I'll correct that. Okay, we talked about the youth who were recognized for the Yankee Scholarship. About voting in June. The Bronx Week Parade. And then our chair gave a report. And we included in the agenda the presentation of our new bylaws. And then there was a presentation regarding Fordham Landing South. Okay, a few questions that came up after that. Okay, and then we had our committee reports. Okay, do we have a motion to accept the minutes from last month as presented?
I move to accept the minutes.
All
Chad.
right, Chad, do we have a second?
Ruth seconds the motion.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on then to our district managers update. Carla?
Yes. Hold on one moment. So we have new in-person district office hours. They're by appointment only. From Monday to Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Apologies, everyone, that it's my daughter who's and we also have new remote district office hours. Fridays from 9 to 5 p.m. Monday, June 19th is a holiday, but starting from June 20th on, our office will be open 4 days a week. You can make an appointment by calling me, the district manager, at 929-496-0748, by emailing the office. The last day to apply to work for the Bronx Community Board 7 is June 17th. You can apply at www.nyc.gov/forwardjobs. The community coordinator's job ID is 587540, and the community associate job ID is 588825. The 2023 primary election day is June 27, 2023. You can find out more at www.votes.org. All right, let me continue. So primary election day is June 27th, 2023. You can find out more at www.nycvotes.org, or you can call the Board of Elections at 866-868-3692. Because of the primary election day on June 27th, our June General Board meeting is on Wednesday, June 28th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in person at a to be announced location. On Friday, May 26, 2023, Bronx Community Board 7, 2023 New York Yankees awardees, Annette Navarro, Annalisa Brown Vidi, Amy Pichardo, Patricia Asiama, and Mia Tejada were recognized on the field before a game at a Yankee Stadium. The People's Money is still accepting votes. The last day that you can vote is June 25th. All New Yorkers 11 years and older can vote on community projects that you think will best benefit the community. You can learn more at www.participate.nyc.gov. And last but not least, our annual resource fair at Poe Park is on Saturday, June 24. It's from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's at Poe Park. I will share a draft of the flyer in the chat shortly. And this year around, we are collaborating very closely with the Parks Department and Orisha Wholeness. And that is it. Thank you, Barbara.
Any questions for caller before we move on? All right, the next item on the agenda is our chairperson's update. Yahira.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
I want to take a moment to have a moment of silence for the passing of our wonderful colleague and friend, board member, Nora Fury. So if we can take a moment to, to give her respect, I would really greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Nora was an advocate for our board. She loved being a part of it, and she's greatly missed. Moving on, I just want to advise that we've lost also 2 members on the board. One was Ms. Myrna Calderon. She was not reappointed to the board, unfortunately. That took effect May 31st of this year. And Ms. Helene Red resigned from the board. With that, they were members of the nominating committee, and I appointed 2 other members in their place. Those members are Mr. Emanuela Samoa and Ms. Samantha Subates. They are now the members who have taken their place at the nominating committee, and they met, I believe, yesterday. My other notes are the CEC trainings continue. Look at your emails. These are great trainings that teach all of our board members a lot about what a board member do's and don'ts are. So please be on the lookout for their emails and take the trainings. They're really insightful. Also, yesterday we had a training session with DCP in regards to the budget and expense request that we made, and it was very insightful. I was a little disappointed that not a lot of our members joined, but hopefully for the next one, more members will join and understand how the process is being taken care of as to the things that we put in that budget report every year. So that's something to do as well. Also, I want to thank the Veterans Committee for hosting the Veterans Resource Fair at the Library Center in Kingsbridge. It was great. It was a great afternoon. A lot of people came out, and it was really lovely. Also, we have our upcoming board elections, as you know. So be on the lookout for emails regarding what the do's and don'ts are, so that we have this process done nice and get it over with for the end of this month. Our resource fair, like Carla said, is happening at the end of the month. I hope to see everyone there. And if anybody wants to volunteer, please let Carla know. Carla also mentioned the office hours. So that is a great thing that we'll be back in person. And I will see everyone at the general board meeting in person. And I look forward to seeing everybody again.
Okay, thank you, Yahira. All right, we'll move the agenda. I assume that there will be a motion possibly after the presentations we have listed, Carl. All right,
Yes,
so,
so the acting borough commissioner for DOT is on the line.
okay,
Mm,
all right.
Um,
Hi, everyone. My name is Teresa Cruz. I'm the acting deputy Bronx Borough Commissioner for New York City DOT. I'm here to, thank you. I'm here tonight because we presented on June 1st to the Transportation Committee meeting, our Fordham Road bus proposal. And I think the meeting went really well. And so I wanted to come back, and I apologize that at that meeting, I didn't ask for the letter of support. But I'm here tonight to see if CB7 will write a letter of support to us for our Fordham Road bus proposal.
So at this point, I'm assuming that everyone is familiar with what the proposal is, being that the information was sent out by Carla. Do we have any questions for Ms. Cruz? I have one. My understanding, I had been at that committee meeting, is that the bus lane will be one lane away from the curb, correct?
Yes, offset lanes, yes.
Right, and the curb, the lane along the curb will be for deliveries.
So we're still working through our curb management tools. It will be a combination, I think at this point, of parking and loading. We're meeting actually with the Fordham bid soon to talk about what their needs are for the businesses.
Okay, now, when the bus stops to pick up passengers or to release passengers, does it move curbside? That's my.
Yes, it will pull into the bus stop to pick up passengers.
Okay. Good. All right, do we have any other questions relating to the plans for Fordham Road?
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
But it's more like a comment, right? Because basically, I guess we would be voting on the idea in principle, right? Because the specifics are still needed to be worked out with the businesses on the Fordham bid and the Fordham and the Fordham bid, right?
So you would be voting for, I guess, a letter of support for us to do offset lanes on Fordham Road, which would be one lane of parking / loading. But either way, the curb would be a parking lane, then offset lane and one travel lane in each direction.
Okay, so they'll be reducing traffic then to one lane in each direction. Okay, we have a few more questions. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, my concern is that at the presentation, the Fordham bid was very vocal in their opposition to the plan, and I'm uncomfortable voting for something without getting a sense that the Fordham bid is generally supportive of the offset concept. However, I'm just throwing this out here. For example, if DOT said, okay, we will eliminate every single parking space on the curb, I don't think the Fordham bid would like that. So I'm concerned if I vote to support the presentation the way it is now, what exactly am I voting for?
I'm sorry, can you address your concern again? You said if we remove all the parking spots? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand how to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm just bringing up a possibility. I mean, I'm voting for something where a major issue has not been resolved. It's kind of this
So I think we
nebulous,
can-
well,
Oh,
it will
sorry.
there'll be a curb, but we may not have parking or deliveries.
So there will be parking or deliveries along the curb. That's what we're trying to work out, is how much of it needs to be, and for us, it is a parking lane. However, we're trying to accommodate all the businesses' needs, and if they have loading needs, we'd love to address that through the now curbside access. So that's the only piece that we're like still working through, and we're meeting with the bid regarding. But the design wouldn't change.
All right, we'll move on to Chad, go ahead.
Yes, hi, good evening. So I also was looking at the plan at the meeting. My concern is the tractor trailers. Some of our businesses use tractor trailers with the long cabins to park their vehicles, to unload their vehicles, and even at times park there overnight. I'm just wondering, since that meeting, has there been any discussion internally to figure out what we're going to do to accommodate this plan if we have the larger tractor trailers in play on Fordham Road?
So we're working closely with NYPD on enforcement, and especially as soon as this project is implemented, and in the meantime, we are always reaching out to them for enforcement purposes, and especially when the project first starts and people get acclimated to it, we're going to have NYPD out there ticketing and trying to tow as much as possible.
But then how would you be able to, they already have issues towing trucks that have been reported. What I was told by PD, and this is just something that you can look into.
Sure.
When there's a truck that's gotten ticketed or has a violation, they need to have a place to actually tow the vehicle, even if they get it on the tow truck. So that's a concern that I present because I actually live near Fordham Road.
And I'm sorry, just so that I make sure that I understand, currently there are tractor trailers parking on Fordham Road in the bus lane.
Right. So it's because the bus lanes are activated from 7 to 7. After 7 p.m.,
Yes.
they become open to the public for people to park, and some vehicles take that privilege, as far as they can.
Understood.
Okay.
So yeah, that's something that we're still working with our partners at NYPD for, and that's a concern that we'll definitely take into account. And we're going to be coming, and I forgot to mention, we will be coming back in September to talk about how we will be moving forward with this proposal.
All right, we have a few more questions. Lowell, go ahead.
Okay. As a member of the Transportation Committee, I'll be honest, I have dealt with Fordham Road maybe 10 years ago, and I see little change in your current proposal, and I see a lot of information lacking that you say you're still working on. I definitely feel Fordham Road needs help, but if this proposal comes to the general board meeting, as a member, I would have to vote no, because I do not see enough specifics to improve the condition on Fordham Road. Thank you.
All right, Eric, you have a hand up.
Yes, thank you, Barbara. I agree with Lowell. There's not enough on this proposal to help and make Fordham Road better. I understand that this is mostly about the bus lanes, and as I expressed during the traffic and transportation meeting, that proposal works up to a certain point in Fordham Road before Jerome Avenue, maybe. But there needs to be more work and more diligence in trying to figure out how to resolve the other sections of Fordham Road between Jerome and Webster Avenue, which we didn't see on the proposal. I mean, you're working on making the BX12 faster, but what about all the other 5 lanes of buses that merge into this corridor after Grand Concourse, right? What happens then? How does that happen? How does that make it better? So I would say no to support this proposal.
Okay, Yahira, I see your hand up.
Yes, I looked at the proposal, and I also live in the area of Fordham, and I think that it's still lacking some extra details and data. I wouldn't vote no right out, but if what you're looking for is a letter of support to start this project, then Is that what you're aiming for? Or is this just a little support to just go gun ho on this project? Just trying to figure out what is it exactly that you guys are looking for.
So we want to improve bus service along Fordham Road. What we're looking for is just a letter of support to see like bus improvements on Fordham Road, specifically for the offset lanes.
Yeah, but is this an initial for the initial start of the project, or is this for the for this letter of support to start the project and continuing all the way through?
Sorry, I guess I'm not really understanding. You're saying, is this a letter of support to start the work or to start and finish? I'm sorry.
That your proposal, your initial proposal, you want a letter of support from us because this
Yes.
is what you guys envision.
Yes.
Is this a letter of support to initiate that project and continuing, or just to initial and then you keep coming back asking step by step?
It's the first one. Yeah. It's to initiate the project.
To initiate the project. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you for clarifying.
All right, do we have any other committee members who have a question? All right, I see Mr. AJ's hand is up. Go ahead, AJ.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I understand that change can be scary, but sometimes in public service, you must be brave and actually improve the district, and this will do exactly that. You should be doing all of this plus more to help restore this iconic and historically neglected Bronx shopping center. Thank you so much. I approve it. Thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions? I have one relating to the one lane of traffic. I'm wondering if traffic is reduced to one lane, where will the excess traffic go? I came across Gun Hill Road this afternoon around 4 o'clock. It was unbelievable. And they have more than a few lanes there. And I'm just wondering, is this going to discourage the motorists to go elsewhere?
So I don't have our project manager on here who did all of the traffic analysis, but I know that we are looking at hopefully a 20% reduction in order to accommodate the traffic modeling. I think what we did was we looked at all the scenarios to see how negatively impacted the traffic would be. And what we saw is that with the offset lanes, traffic would still flow through Fordham Road.
All right, I see another hand, Shaq.
Yeah, I can't remember if I asked this question before, but has your team looked at the project that they did at 14th Street in Manhattan, where they actually recreated the lanes, where they pretty much eliminated car traffic going up and down? I'm just
Yes, you're
wondering,
talking about the busway on 14th Street, yes.
right. I'm just curious if any input from that project was considered in looking at Fordham Road.
Yes, it was.
Okay, all right, thanks.
All right, do we have any more questions, concerns, whatever? All right, Edgar, do you have a motion coming from your committee or?
I don't, this guy kind of just brought to me that they wanted a letter of support. I don't have a motion constructed, right? Because I didn't know this was going on today. But I guess I could kind of put one together. Basically, the motion would be a letter of support for the concept of the Fordham bus redesign.
Okay. Do we have a
Does that
second?
make sense, everyone?
Yes, it does. Do we have a second for Edgar's motion? Andrew, I see a hand up there.
Yeah, for me, maybe the plan is it's so broad, but if we can narrow it down, is there support for what they refer to as an offset bus lane? That means the curb will be reserved for some amount of parking, some amount of delivery space, but the next lane is going to be a dedicated bus lane, and the other lane will just be a travel lane. So if we word it that way, I would support it. But otherwise, it's just too broad. The plan, what is the plan? I think, we had A, B, and C. I think we need to narrow it down a little and see what people feel about that offset lane. That's the big issue in my mind.
All right, did we have a second for the motion that Edgar mentioned? The letter of support for the concept of the Fordham Road bus redesign. No second on that, all right, and it doesn't carry. Do we have anyone else who would like to present a motion? Andrew, is that your hand still up?
Yeah, let's motion to support the concept of an offset bus lane. That is that, I guess that was choice A, but we don't have to say choice A, but Bronx Community Board 7 supports the concept of an offset bus lane.
All right, so we have a second for Andrew's motion.
Second that.
All right. Okay, do we have any discussion, additional questions? All right, then I guess we will take.
Just the only thing, as far as discussion, just so everybody understands, right? This is basically going to be a work in progress, right? Basically, the motion is agreeing with DOT to work on the offset bus lane. They still said that they have to work within with the Fordham bid, with the businesses, and find out exactly what the requirements are going to be as far as for deliveries and parking, right? So they're going to bring parking back in some of the lanes, and in some places they'll be doing deliveries. So they got to, kind of like what they've done along Valentine Avenue, Briggs Avenue, and all these other side streets. They have certain spots that'll be specifically just deliveries. Some will be just parking, and once they figure out what's needed where, they'll make those decisions. But for right now, this is just an agreement with the concept.
All right, we have another hand up there. Eric, go ahead.
So why can DOT come back when they have all the kinks figured out and ask for the letter of support? Why do we need to support a concept that's
Because we're supporting them. We're supporting them continuing with the concept, right?
But it's a bad concept, in my opinion.
All right.
All right, is there any way that DOT can come back with more details after you meet with the Fordham bid and whatever?
I'm happy to share what comes out of that meeting and what we ultimately decide for the curb management of Fordham Road.
You'll be back to share that.
Yeah, I'll share that with the board, yes.
All right, any other statements that anybody would like to make in regard to this? All right, so the motion reads that CB7 is in support of the concept of an off-site bus lane. All right, so we'll have to take that to a vote. Okay, all right, Barbara Stronza votes no, because I fear that this is not completed yet, and I'd rather see the whole picture. Eric Asensio?
I vote no.
All right. Betty Arce?
I vote no.
Yahira?
Ira votes no.
Michelle is not here. Andrew Laosa,
Andrew Laosa supports the motion.
thank you. Lori Acosta,
Hey, can I comment before voting?
well, you had a chance to, but quickly.
Oh, sorry. Well, I guess based off the strength that the bus routes serve over 93,000 people, I think that this is a step in the right direction rather than the status quo, and I vote yes.
Okay. Edgar Ramos,
Edgar Ramos supports the motion as presented.
thank you. Chad Royer. Chad,
Chad votes no.
Victor Saldana,
Victor Saldana votes to move forward. I vote yes. We need to
Okay.
continue progress.
Ruth Caraballo,
Ruth Caraballo votes no.
all right, so the final tally is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 noes and 4 yeses. So the motion doesn't carry. And I would just like to say that I'm certainly in favor of changes on Fordham Road, but I think most of us who voted no would like to see the full picture first.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you for sharing with us. All right, we'll move the agenda to the Office of Cannabis Management presentation. Are they on?
Yes, they're on.
Yes, good evening. We are on.
Oh, great, good, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. I will just pull up, I need sharing privileges so I can
Okay.
share my
You
screen.
Carl,
got it,
please.
Pascal.
Thank
Okay, you
you.
have it.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for having us. We are just going to go through the slide deck for you, and then we will answer as many questions as we are allowed to answer. So my colleague Adam will start. Adam, why don't you introduce yourself and then start?
Absolutely. Thanks for having us today. My name is Adam Stoneski. I'm Program Specialist in the Intergovernmental Affairs team with the OCM. We're just going to do a nice brief overview for this presentation. So Pascal, we can go next slide. So now in New York State, adults over 21 can buy and possess up to 3 ounces of cannabis flower, as well as up to 24 grams of concentrated cannabis. Cannabis can be consumed in the private home or state licensed on-site consumption sites. Currently, as of today, there are no licensed on-site consumption sites. And a good rule of thumb that we say is where you're allowed to smoke tobacco, cannabis is allowed to be smoked. This falls under the Clean Indoor Air Act. Next slide. So you're going to hear us referencing the MRTA a lot today. It stands for the Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act, also known as MRTA. The MRTA was signed into law on March 31st. This is the law that legalized adult use cannabis while also expanding on our state's existing medical cannabis and cannabinoid hemp. It also created the Office of Cannabis Management and our 5-member Cannabis Control Board that oversees us. Additionally, it created a 20-member Cannabis Advisory Board. And it really made the shift from, cannabis prohibition into this public health framework, incorporating things like economic development, public safety, and social justice. Next slide. So here's little things of what the MRT emphasizes. It's equity in the market. 50% of adult use licenses will be awarded to social and economic equity applicants. We also have our social and economic equity plan, which is on our website, giving a detailed review of, plans ahead. Record expungement, already 400,000 records have been expunged for New York State convictions regarding cannabis. And community reinvestment, 40% of the adult use tax revenue will be going to communities impacted by policing of cannabis. Next slide. So the taxation of cannabis, where many states have operated a weight-based tax, we are operating a THC per milligram tax. That's a 3 cents per milligram for THC edibles, 5 cents per milligram for THC flower, 8 cents per milligram for THC concentrates. This really helps push people to lower potency items by making these high potency items more expensive. On top of that, there's a 9% state excise tax that's on the sale of cannabis products by the retailer to the consumer. And then the final is a 4% local excise tax, 25% goes to the county, and then 75% to the city. Next slide. So where is that money going to? 20% is awarded to the drug treatment and public education, 40% about that community grant reinvestment I talked about to the communities that were disproportionately impacted by cannabis prohibition, and then 40% to the education fund. For the drug treatment, this is like implementing statewide public education campaigns to provide substance use disorder treatment programs for youths and adults. We currently have one of Wi-Fi legal right now going on as of today. Next slide. So opportunities in New York State cannabis industry. So here in front of you are 9 license types. These are the 9 license types that are written into the MRTA, the Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act. That is retail dispensaries, on-site consumption, cultivator, nursery, processor, distributor, delivery, adult use cooperative, and micro business. Currently, we have our proposed regulations, adult regulations out that contain 7 of these 9 licenses, all except for on-site and delivery. So if you're interested, you can go in and they go into more detail of the licenses, fees, requirements, and all that fine details. Next slide. So in New York State, we're operating a tiered system. So this means people cannot have direct or indirect interest across these tiers you see. For example, if I was a cultivator, I could not be a dispensary or on-site consumption licensee. This helps us keep the supply chain broken up and also allows many points of access for business, for small businesses specifically. In many states, we see that they have these big companies come in and they'll take the supply tier, retail, and all the other tiers together and really create a monopoly. So we're happy about this, creating, many points of entry for small business. Next slide. So we're going to talk about our conditional adult use licensees. So we're going to draw a little difference of the 2 licensing systems we have currently going. On the left here is our conditional licenses. These are happening as we speak today. These are standalone conditional license system, and it basically is creating this micro ecosystem to get the jump start on this cannabis industry. We have conditional cultivators, conditional processors, and as you may be aware of, known as CARD, which is our conditional adult use retail dispensaries. Separate from that is those MRT licenses that I was talking about. Those are the 9 license types. Those are separate and are part of the adult use regulations that are out for public comment. Next slide. So going into our conditional licensees, we have conditional cultivators, 279, more applications under review, processors, 40 with additional under review, and our card dispensaries, we have 215 with more under review. And really for this card program, what it was is the 2 requirements where you could either be an individual with a past cannabis related conviction and had to have experience owning a qualified business, or you could be a 501c nonprofit and be serving justice involved individuals. Next slide. So roles of the municipalities in this state community board, but next slide. So what is the role of the community board? So per cannabis law, also known as the MRTA, community boards and municipalities are allowed the opportunity to express an opinion on whether they support the Cannabis Control Bureau's approval of a retail dispensary, on-site consumption, or registered organization, medical dispensary in that case. Community boards do not have a role in other cannabis licensees types like nurseries, cultivators, processors, and distributors. This is just written into the law. It gave specific authority to communities and municipalities on what licensees they have this opinion. Next slide. So where do community boards or municipalities fit in the process to approve retail dispensaries or on-site consumption? People or businesses who apply for a retail dispensary or on-site consumption need to submit a notification to the municipality or the community board. This is about the proposed location, within the boundaries of a community board or the municipality. The record for your opinion would become part of the record upon which the cannabis board decides, the cannabis control board decides to accept or deny an application for cannabis license. We make sure that the applicants are known that they have to afford appropriate amount of time to give this notification. Once the municipality or community board receives this, it's a 30-day time period for them to express an opinion for or against the licensee. Next slide. I think this is where Pascal will take over here.
Thank you, Adam. My name is Pascal Bernard. I'm Deputy Director for Intergovernmental Affairs at the Office of Cannabis Management. So enforcement. The MRTA gives OCM enforcement powers over licensed businesses. We work with local authorities to address issues related to unlicensed cannabis businesses. And, we engage in efforts to identify unlicensed operators, seize illicit cannabis, find stores, fines and close stores. OCM's Enforcement Division has been conducting investigations on all illicit cannabis operations since January of 2022. We routinely work with local law enforcement. So here in the city, the Sheriff's Department and the NYPD, as well as the local DAs. And we work in a multi-agency task force, again, with the Sheriff's Department, NYPD when necessary, Department of Worker Protection, DOH-MH, maybe sanitation. And, our enforcement division continues to staff up. It is actually the fastest growing and largest division in our agency. And we staff up and we engage in enforcement actions across the state. So that includes visiting illicit stores, issuing cease and desist letters to stores conducting themselves contrary to existing law, and assisting local law enforcement in their investigations involving illicit stores. Now, some people may feel like the cease and desist letter is not important. Actually, it is foundationally important because it sets the ground level for us to be able to do other things, which I will get into. So here you have pictures of from some of our enforcement actions, and you see there's all sorts of things happening in these pictures. I just want to point out a couple of things. So in the far right, Lex Hemp, you can see all the way at the top, the marijuana leaf symbol. In licensed dispensaries, that cannot be. The way that, that leaf is on there, it cannot be. The colors inside the store, the neon, all of that, it cannot be. In the far left, you see how the counters are. They're just kind of, the cabinets are just kind of open. Anybody can just go and slide it open. Those are all not permissible in a licensed dispensary. Here on the left, you see the cabinets are just open as if it is a shelf at a grocery store, which it is not. And so that is not how the licensed dispensaries look. And then on the right side of your screen, you see clearly that's Charlie Brown, not looking very happy, by the way. And so in the licensed dispensaries, you're not allowed to put any kind of graphic, any colors. You see these neon colors that are very attractive to people 21 and under. Under 21. So we have new enforcement powers. So thanks to the governor and the state legislature, when the fiscal year 2023-2024 state budget passed, they established a comprehensive framework to address the spread of unlicensed cannabis shops statewide. So the law empowers OCM to take enforcement action against businesses selling cannabis without the required license, including so-called sticker shops or bodegas, and other similarly unlicensed businesses selling cannabis. It bolsters OCM's authority. It allows OCM to conduct regulatory inspections of all businesses selling and giving away cannabis. allows for the inspection of these businesses by using a court order if the business does not allow OCM to conduct an inspection. We are now able to seize cannabis found in unlicensed businesses. And we are able to assess civil penalties. The New York State Department of Tax and Finance, as well as OCM, can levy fines and penalties against unlicensed cannabis sellers. We also have the authority to revoke, cancel, or suspend any registration, license, or permit issued under the cannabis law for a violation of the cannabis law. We also have the authority to conduct regulatory inspections during normal business hours of any place of business, including a vehicle used for such business, where a business is engaging in activity for which a license would be required under the cannabis law, including medical cannabis, adult use cannabis, cannabis product, cannabinoid hemp, and hemp extract, or any products marketed, labeled as such, are cultivated, processed, stored, distributed, or sold by any person holding a registration license or permit under the cannabis law. And so this dispensary verification tool, this tool is on the front of all licensed dispensaries, and they have to display it. If you take your phone and you scan the QR code, it will take you to our website where there is a list of all our licensed dispensaries. Medical dispensaries have a similar tool. So information about activities that may be in violation of the cannabis law can be sent to OCM via email or through our website. So suspected violations or complaints can be reported at complaints@ocm.ny.gov or cannabis.ny.gov/report-and-incident. Whenever possible, we ask for you to include as much information. So the name of the business, the time of the alleged illicit activity, location of alleged illicit activity. If you can get these safely, and only if you can get these safely, pictures of alleged illicit activity, indicate to your knowledge if there's been previous police contact, 911 calls, or what have you, and proximity to sensitive use locations. Sensitive use locations as defined in the MRTA are schools and houses of worship. So there's fine print. It has to be 200 feet from a school, 500 feet from a house of worship. If, however, that school or that house of worship are not single use in that way. So for example, if the school is on top and then at the ground level, there's retail, or the house of worship also doubles as a daycare center or a community center, then the proximity sensitive use is voided. Additionally, if the house of worship or the school are not, if they're not on the same block as the dispensary, it negates that as well. We also need contact information of the person who's reporting the alleged illicit activity in the event that our investigators have follow-up questions. So this is a highly regulated industry. And in October 28 of 2022, OCM provided guidance that outlines requirements and expectations for card dispensaries, including inventory tracking, staffing and training, location, security, facilities requirement, purchasing, security, branding, marketing, and signage. All card licensees will have to review and sign an attestation agreeing to comply with these requirements. Again, as I said in the previous slides around enforcement, nothing that is packaged, branded can appeal to children. The marketing cannot appeal to children. And so we even have color templates that are acceptable to use in labeling. stores are limited, dispensaries are limited with how much branded signage they can have. And again, it cannot be in the window. November of 2022, the Cannabis Control Board also provided adult use program regulations that establish rules for safer, equitable, consumer-driven market focused on small businesses. So the packaging outlines application and license selection and renewal process, the role of municipalities, in the role municipalities play in regulating cannabis business, key social and economic programs, environmental and sustainable standards, ownership and true party of interest, general business operating requirements, including security, record keeping, and transportation. So February, there was we put out the regulations for public comment. We got them back May of 21st, and the board modified May 11th, excuse me, of 2023, the board modified those regulations. And as of yesterday, we filed them with the Department of State for a 45-day comment period. And so that 45-day comment period started yesterday. So we now have 44 days. And comments can be filed at regulations@ocm.ny.gov. Now, the public comment period is really important because it really is an opportunity for government and constituent to engage in conversation. So our part of the conversation are the regulations. So we're saying, hey, we think this is how this industry should be regulated. Your part of the conversation is the public comment period. So we really encourage people to look through the regulations and really do make comments. The same way that you just had this whole discussion about transportation, that's what we're asking for, but in writing. And so please, 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 please engage in that process with us. So staffing and training. There has to be an employee in charge of the dispensary, but also that employee has to be accessible 24 hours. So they are the ones with the bat phone, and they have to be accessible in the event that the office or law enforcement needs to get in touch. There are age requirements for staffing. There is a written manual. The staff has to be highly trained. There's written manual, there's curriculum requirements, there's record keeping. Again, we talked about the advertising and signage. So external signage, you're limited to 2 signs, no image, no logos, no symbols. For delivery location, there is no external signage, so people can walk by and wouldn't know it's a delivery location. The website must include an age gate and comply with packaging, marketing, labeling, and advertising guidance. And you see at the bottom right, welcome. We got to ask, are you 21 years of age? That actually is real. If you go on any of the sites and you try any of the dispensary sites and you try to go in, it will ask you that. It also asks you that same question before you check out. That concludes our presentation. If you have upcoming events and would like to invite the office, please feel free to email us at events@ocm.ny.gov. And to receive regular updates from our office, please sign up www.cannabis.ny.gov. You'll hear from people. I know what OCM is doing next. Only people that know what OCM is doing next is OCM. So we encourage you to please sign up for updates. And now we're happy to take questions if there are any, or it could be you all think Adam and I did such a great job. There are no questions.
Thank you to you and to Adam for a very detailed presentation. I am sure we will have some questions. I see hands already. All right, Betty, go on. I see your hand up.
Thank you, Pascal. It was a very, very comprehensive presentation. Will that be available for board members? That's my
Yes.
question.
Tomorrow, Adam will send an email to
Carla.
Okay, with
good.
the slides as well as links to more information.
Okay. 2, do you know how many Bronx dispensaries, how many Bronx establishments have received permits or licenses to operate?
So I can't give you a number on how many from the Bronx have been issued licenses as of yet.
Okay.
Just simply because we continue to license people. Today we licensed a number of individuals. I can tell you, Adam, can you pull up the info on how many licenses for the region? So the way that the state is broken up is the New York State Economic Development Agency, they break the state up through regions. Here in the city, each borough is its own region. And
Okay.
so for the card licenses, what we did is based on population numbers, census numbers, we allocated the amount per population for each borough. So I can tell you, like, we'll put it in the chat, how many licenses the borough of the Bronx can go, the maximum that they will be allotted, excuse me, under card, but I can't tell you how many people have actually gotten those licenses to date. I'm sorry.
Okay. So my other question has to do, and I don't want to take up too much time because I was floored. I live on a near a commercial street, and several months ago, I saw a sign go up that used to be a club restaurant, and then I saw it said High Cloud, and it said something about organic. I said, oh, great, we're gonna have an organic grocery store or something. It's an illicit cannabis store on the block. And I walked by it, and it seems to have all the things that you said shouldn't be, with all the glitz, and it looks like a candy store. So my question is, when you showed the presentation about reporting illicit activity, does that refer to card illicit activity by card operators, or illicit activities for those that do not currently possess a permit?
It's all of it.
Okay.
All of it.
You're actually also on that reporting form. You can do adverse effects if you had a product that you think you had, something that was bad. It encompasses a lot of different reporting systems in one. So
I see.
Yeah.
And then I just heard recently about the fact that cannabis sold in New York State must be grown in New York State, and that the farmers farmers who are growing marijuana are having difficulty moving their product because there aren't enough permits being put out. And I heard that there might be a possibility, I don't know how true this is, of allowing farmers who also may be growing produce for farmers markets in the city to be allowed to possibly sell their product at farmers markets. I don't know how true that is or not, but.
So we are in the process of developing a cannabis grower showcase program.
Okay.
And we don't have, we're still in the process of kind of sussing out the details of it. So unfortunately, beyond telling you that is something that is under consideration and development in our office, we don't have much else to share right now.
Okay, well, that's fine. I just would like to see people who are entrepreneurial and also wanted to, not take advantage, but also to be able to use what land they have to grow marijuana that is regulated and is unadulterated with anything else, we hope, that they would be able to sell their product, throughout the state. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I will say, because it's an illicit drug it's still an illicit drug at the federal level, that prohibits interstate commerce with it. And so all products sold in the dispensaries here across the state are grown in the state, and they're processed in the state. They're also tested. If you recall the tiers that Adam slide that he showed, there is a laboratory tier, and they're the ones that test the product.
So absolutely. I think that's, that makes perfect sense, given the kinds of things that are going into a lot of illicit drugs now that are harmful for people. We don't need this on top of that as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Betty. We have a few more hands. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up that I hear from people in the neighborhood all the time that the prices of the products in these licensed stores is way too high, not affordable for them. So the poor people are left with no choice but to buy the street product, which is not regulated, can have all kinds of harmful additives to it. What can be done to get these stores to lower their prices to be competitive with what's being sold on the street? Thank you.
So there are taxes on the product, and that in addition to this being a social justice, a public health opportunity, it's also an economic development opportunity. So there are taxes on the product, and so that could account for some of the price differentials that you see between the regulated and the unregulated market. Additionally, because these the products are grown here in the state and it has to go through the laboratory and everything else, entrepreneurs do have to make up for some of that. But we've heard this discussion about the prices, and we continue to look at the issue, but we don't set the price for these products. That is set between the grower, the processor, the sellers. But it is something that we've heard, and we're sensitive to that feedback. And we continue to just look at it, as do the regulated market entrepreneurs.
Okay, and just to follow up on that, I'm hearing that the legal retailers are complaining that they're not making the profits they thought they were going to make because of those who are selling without a license. So that's unfortunate too.
Yes, and thankfully the state legislature and the governor, it's been about 3 weeks now since the budget has passed. They've given us broader authority to go after illicit sellers. Prior to this, similar to SLA, SLA can only go after licensed liquor sellers who violate the SLA laws and regulations. It was the same thing for us. However, again, about 3 weeks ago, when the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget passed, the state legislature and the governor gave us greater authority, and we plan to use that authority.
Okay, that's good. Does the enforcement unit go out and check various places, or do you have to receive complaints first?
They do both.
They do both? Okay, that's good. All right. Andrew, did you have another question? I see your hand up. All right. AJ, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I've asked the board a couple questions before. They didn't have the answers, so hopefully you guys do. You said anywhere, it's allowed anywhere you can smoke a cigarette. I'm reading off the New York Parks website now. It says smoking is allowed on sidewalks outside of parks, including sidewalks that form the perimeter of parks. For example, smoking will be allowed on the sidewalk on 5th Avenue outside of Central Park. Even though medians in the middle of large streets such as Broadway are under the jurisdiction of parks, they are mainly used to cross the street, so smoking by pedestrians would be permitted to continue in these areas. Is that not Marshallou Parkway, and would that not also be covered? Also, when will home growing, I think it was up to 6 plants, be allowed? And is there any information on cannabis drug testing for new job applicants, as the destigmatization of use hasn't quite reached us up in CB7 yet? Thank you so much.
AJ, you're on fire. I will let Adam take I would say the first parts of your question. What I will do is take the last part, which is cannabis use testing. So our sister agency, the Department of Labor, that actually is in their jurisdiction. So when we send the information, we'll be sure to add a link to the Department of Labor team that is working on this. They're amazing. And actually we have a partnership with them where we're going around and around the state, informing people about employment opportunities in the industry. And when it does come to your borough, we will definitely make sure that we share. It will be somewhere in the Bronx. It won't necessarily be in your community board, but it will be somewhere in the Bronx. Adam?
Yeah, so Pascal was talking about the Department of Labor, that's a cannabis workforce initiative. A lot of information on the website about hiring in cannabis careers, not only for licensees, but also people who want to work in the industry as an employee. Going back to smoking, I can't speak specifically to that area. Again, it falls under the Clean Indoor Air Act, so municipalities, in this case, the city, can set stricter requirements. I'm not sure about that area, but again, the municipality, again, the city would have the authority to say, hey, you can smoke here, you can't. Again, for the recreational home grow, right now there is medical home grow allowed, same thing that you were talking about. But for recreational, it's 18 months from the first licensure. I can't remember what date that was, but
It was December.
So yeah, so 18 months for that December date starts the clock. By then, OCM will have adopted or proposed regulations for adult use, home cultivation, and then from there, again, public comment will be allowed and then adopted by the board.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, so Adam is upstate. I'm here in Harlem, so I'm a bit familiar with Washula Parkway. So if it does fall under parks, and as you're saying, the mediums are allowable for pedestrians to be walking around smoking, then that would be what the rules are for that.
But not in the park itself. In other words.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
The perimeters, the sidewalks, hope
Right.
maybe the benches, but yeah.
Do we have any other questions? All right, I'd just like to thank both Adam and Pascal for an excellent presentation. And we hope you will come back in the future when you have more information to share with us. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks
Have
for
a good
having us.
evening.
Have a great night.
Good night. All right, we'll move the agenda again. I understand we have executive session next. Carla, are you on?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, do you want to put everybody into executive session?
Someone needs to make a motion first.
The motion, there has to be a motion to go into executive session.
Okay, are you making the motion, Andrew?
There has to be a reason. Thank you.
All right. All right. Evidently from the agenda, it is to discuss the procedure for a liquor license. Do we have a motion from somebody to go into executive session for this discussion?
Motion to go into executive session to discuss liquor license procedures.
Thank you, Betty. Do we have a second on that?
Ruth seconds the motion.
Thank you, Yahira. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I think we had 4 there, so we're ready to go. Carla?
We didn't have a discussion before we voted. I would have asked, why
All right.
what is the need for us to go into an executive session? We're not specifically discussing a license for a particular business. So I'm just curious why the need to go into executive session.
Carla?
I mean, we can discuss it openly. I have no preference. It's really up to you.
All right, we're not mentioning any names or businesses or anything. It's just the procedure. Am I correct?
No, it's just the procedure. Yes, it's just an addition to the procedure.
All right.
I will rescind my motion.
Okay. All right, so go ahead, Carla, whatever you have to tell us on this.
Okay. Right, so I think you wanted to know a little bit about businesses who have applied to have their liquor licenses either renewed or made any changes to it. What I can offer is I can add a list of businesses to our newsletter on an ongoing basis. and allow the public to send comments to the community board that way.
Okay.
Would
And
that suffice the need for more transparency from the office in that regard?
Well, in the past, it used to go to committee as well, and you know, that may be something you would want to do also. That would depend on the executive committee, whether they wanted to go to committee with it to be discussed, and also certainly to send it out to the community would be important, because they're the people who are affected by some of these establishments.
I will jump in here.
Go ahead,
it
Yahara.
would, it would only need to go to committee if it's something super, I would say super important, super viable. But I think what other boards have done, and Carla can back this up, is that they've done what Carla is proposing, and it has worked for a lot of boards. I think we should, do that as well, because it'll streamline a lot of things and it'll make things a lot easier for the board versus having to have a committee specifically for it. I think it will just be easier only to come to committee if there's something super urgent or super important or something that violates any of the rules.
No. All right.
Can we just review the procedures as they are so I can understand them?
Yes, let me put them up on the screen right now.
Thank you.
Right, so I am sharing my screen right now. So the way the process works is a business will send us their notice. So this is what the business is required to do. They're required to notify the community board 30 days prior to them applying for any type of application, whether that's a new application, a temporary retail permit, a temporary retail permit, a removal of the liquor license, a class change, to any changes to the methods of operation, renewals, alterations. So anything they do, they have to notify the community board. And then once they notify the community board, then I send a letter saying, oh, we're in receipt of your notice. And then that pretty much closes that loop. And then the other loop is to have the business respond to a questionnaire that we send out. We request proof of certificate of occupancy from the Department of Buildings, and the district manager meets with them either in person or virtually with the owner of an establishment, and this is done in company of the 52nd precinct. And so that is the process that we have at the Bronx Community Board 7. Based on that conversation is that Bronx Community Board 7, and specifically the district manager, writes a letter to determine if we have any objections to the business and their type of SLA request.
Okay, but I would think that at least the district manager would send out the information to all the board members that such and such an establishment has applied to us for a renewal or a new license or whatever. So if the board members who are out there in the community know of problems, they can get the information to you. Can we do that some way?
That sounds like a good idea, and we could put that in place.
You know, because I live a block and a half from an establishment that was raided on New Year's Eve, and all sorts of nonsense was going on there prior to that. And of course, now it's closed, but there've been talk of, oh, they're coming back, they're gonna open again or whatever, or try to get a liquor license. So I think it's important that the members of the board who encompass the entire district at least know what is up on, or who is up on for renewal or a new license, and get the information back to Carla if there are problems out there before you sign off on them.
Yeah, so what I can offer is either send that quarterly as they come in. Like I said, I can share that on the newsletter. That way it's you are able to see it, and so can other community residents in the neighborhood, and you can provide feedback that way.
Yeah, it's almost like what they used to have, you know, posting, you remember, like, you used to have to post in newspapers, all kinds of things about something going up, a business or whatever. I think that would be great.
Right, so our newsletter right now, it has information of like street permits, and stuff, things of that nature, and
But I think you'll need to highlight for the board members that this, you know, what this is, so people don't say, I never saw it. You know.
Right, exactly, and it has to be out before a decision is made also, so that you can get feedback before you say, yes, this establishment is fine or whatever. All right, there are a few hands up here. Andrew, go ahead, and then we'll go on to Hugo. Go ahead, Andrew.
Got a question concerning this questionnaire. Is this a questionnaire provided to the community board by the State Liquor Authority? Is this a questionnaire that the board is going to compose? And is it going to be an ad hoc committee that creates this questionnaire? And will the results of the questionnaire be made available to board members to review? Oh, that's my questions. Thank you.
All right, Carla.
so the questionnaire is already in place. It has been for years, from what I know, and it has already been created. It requests a lot of different information on businesses, and I'm not sure if it would be a good idea to disclose that at a public meeting. Any identifiable information. I think the business name would be enough for someone to, a community resident, if they see a business, let's say Bedford Cafe send us the renewal license, the renewal SLA like notice. I can add that to the newsletter and say like, well, this is the new notices that we have received. One of them is Bedford Cafe. And you have until, you know, a date 2 weeks from now to provide any type of feedback on it.
Sounds good. All right, Hugo, you have your hand up?
Yes.
Can I just follow up on that?
Okay, 1 minute, Hugo, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so the existence of a questionnaire that the board made up, not that the state requires, that the board made up.
Who made it up?
Can a member of the public foil or request to see, one, the questionnaire, or two, the results of the questionnaire?
Carla?
I think all of our information is foilable. I will have to check in with the law department whether, because I'm pretty sure they will say you know, you can share the document, but certain parts of the document will have to be blank out for privacy reasons. And that's just me, who is a very private person. But I would think that, you know, certain parts of the questionnaire will be public, and then certain identifiable information pertaining to the individual, owner or co-owners. I'm pretty sure that information might not be able to be seen by the public.
Andrew had a question about who was the originator of the questionnaire? Is it a state questionnaire, or was somebody on the board made it up, or a staff person, or?
Yeah, so the questionnaire was created by the district manager. I am not sure which district manager. When I came on board, it was already in place.
Okay, we have another hand up there, Hugo.
Hi, a couple of comments and questions. Okay, the information that will be provided, I think that it should not just be the name, it should also be the address to help people figure out which, what establishment is requesting a liquor license. I also think that the questionnaire at some point should be mailed out to the board members in lieu of posting it on the website. Since I know it takes time to put things up on the website.
It takes more time to mail some. You mean email, Hugo?
Email.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like snail mail. Okay.
No. Email.
Okay.
I also think that when a business comes up, it should be announced at the general board meeting.
Mhm.
Because I feel that this is liquor license responsibility of the board as a whole, and not something that should be wholly delegated to the district manager and staff.
Yeah. I agree with you, Hugo, because it was always done that way. And except for the last couple of years, we never heard whose license was up or whatever. And I know other boards send it to committee, you know, not that we have to do it that way, but I think we all should know when someone's license is up for renewal.
And finally, I just want to thank Carla for bringing up this issue to the committee and to the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other board members who have a question? All right, I see Mr. AJ's hand up. Go ahead, Mr. AJ, we'll give you a minute.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, for transparency and accountability, if you can just share that questionnaire with the residents as soon as possible, preferably in its own email. There's a lot of religious communities in the neighborhood that don't drink alcohol that might be against certain places that the board won't have time. If the meeting's once a month and then you guys have to vote at the general with the public hearing, that 30 days time limit might be expiring quick. But thank you so much, Ms. Carla, for actually bringing this up. My whole time at the board, there has not been one liquor license. So it's about time. That's over 3 years now. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, is that agreeable to you, Carla?
Yeah, so the questionnaire is something that and eventually like Hugo say, and I'll be sending out a Google form with or like a spreadsheet where you can ask and provide, you know, like suggestions for our website. I have seen other community boards provide information about the SLA process for each individual community board. So the questionnaire can definitely be put out there.
Okay, so I think what we're looking for is more transparency on these issues, being that we're out there in the community and we hear the complaints from neighbors if there's a problem with any establishment. So I thank you for putting this on the agenda.
Yes, and again, the questionnaire, it can be shared. Any questionnaire that we received from certain businesses and establishments, that I have to get feedback from the law department to see what information can and cannot be shared.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question about, given the previous presentation on cannabis, will something like this type of protocol, I mean, I heard, I forgot the woman's name who
Pasquale?
Pasquale, right. The information about something, I heard about something about the involvement of the community board when some of these permits are going to be issued. Is there like a role for the community board in any of that? And would it be something like this where someone would be requesting a permit? Is it going to require community board involved?
Yes, so yes, Betty. So a similar process to the SLA process will be for the cannabis as well. However, that is something that the district manager is not going to be taking on. That is more likely going through the Health and Human Services Committee. So any notices that we received will go through the Health and Human Services Committee to have an open discussion. And then based on the motion that committee will put in place, if it carries through the executive and the general board meeting, then a letter will be issued. So very, very separate processes. But as of now, we have not received any notices. And I believe it will be very similar to when Very Life came to the community board. So that's something that the Health and Human Services Committee will be taking on.
Okay.
Okay, good, thank you.
Everybody, just keep in mind that as these laws change, changes will be happening, and it may start one way, may change into another, and end up being something completely different. So we always gotta keep in mind that these things can change at any given time, depending on how the state and the city wants to run, you know, these type of programs and entities and businesses in our area.
Well taken, point well taken. Okay.
Good point.
And also something to keep in mind is we have a 30-day window to respond.
Oh, good.
And you know, like based on the process that the committee goes through sometimes, it might not allow it, there may not be enough room for us to get that letter to the Liquor License Authority or to OCM. So that's something that we also have to keep in mind. I know a lot of community boards have been advocating for them to allow a 60-day window for community boards to respond. However, as it is right now, that window is a 30-day window.
Well, hopefully they'll extend it a little. Okay, thank you, Carla, for the presentation on this. All right, we'll move the agenda. We're up to committee reports. So we'll start with Budget, Personnel, and Ethics. Andrew?
The committee last met on Monday, June 12th, for the purpose of addressing the attendance records in relationship to the upcoming elections, to vet and determine if the nominees will qualify to be candidates for the election based upon being a member in good standing, which is mostly related to their attendance as required by the community board bylaws. The committee also briefly discussed the internal board budget, and we all unanimously emphasized the importance of getting the hiring process expedited as quickly as possible so that we can help our poor district manager who is running the whole entire community board by herself with no assistance from a staff member. And the committee is scheduled to meet on Monday, June 26th, in person, according to the new requirements, specifically to discuss issues of hiring community associate, community coordinator, their salary range that the Office of Management and Budget presents to us, and how that fits into our internal board budget. So please attend that meeting. It's really important. Monday, June 26th, 6:30 p.m. in person, location to be announced. End of report.
Thank you, Andrew. We'll move on to education, youth, and libraries. Lurie's.
Hi, so we were supposed to meet on Tuesday, however, we did not meet quorum. I did have a presentation from the new KIPP school here in Jerome, and the day after toured it with Carla. That is all.
Good, thank you. Environment and sanitation, Betty.
The committee met on June 6th. We reviewed previous minutes. We didn't have any updates from sanitation. We are having, I shared with Carla that I'm frustrated with the, I would say, representation from DSNY has been less than lacking. It's been lacking overall. They are no longer allowing representatives to come unless it's like some really vital issue. So have to work through that, and getting responses through email has been also frustrating. Be that as it may, FER Zone from DEP showed up, which is really very helpful. And we had a lively discussion about illegal car wash. Well, not they're no longer illegal, but the requirements for car wash, issues on hydrants. It'll be in my report. And then we also focused on our capital and expense budget items. We went through, I asked my committee members to send me what they felt were the major issues and sort of tied them to the budget items, and we will continue to look at that for September. I'm going to create a spreadsheet with those items that I think will require some action. I want to make a point that yesterday's, was it yesterday, Yahira, the meeting that we had with city planning on budget was excellent, and I wish more board members had attended. It was really very helpful because they actually went through our budget request and the responses, and were able to provide some very helpful information on how to proceed with the with those items. It would have been helpful to have. I know it's like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but it was really a good piece. So using that kind of information, I'm going to take the responses and see how we then move it along, either with the agency itself, which city planning said that we should follow up with agencies on some of our responses, as well as with elected officials.
Yes, Betty, that was yesterday, and
Yeah.
like I said before, I was a little disappointed that not a lot of more board members joined.
It was
But
great.
we want to make it a habit of, following up with these things and making sure that, well, we work so hard on this budget and expense report, because we work really hard on it.
Absolutely.
That we have feedback and that we have responses that we can actually live with and learn how to adjust them before we get to that point where it's a little too late and we're stressing out to get it done.
As well as to use some of these budget items for action, who we take this to, because it becomes frustrating for committee members to work on this, and then we don't see anything, and then we'll just repeat next year asking for the same stuff. So that was, it was a good one. So our next meeting will be September 5th in person at 7 p.m. Location to be announced at some point. And we'll continue working with our budget and any other issues that come up. And I hope to see everybody at our resource fair on Saturday, next Saturday, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Betty. We'll move on to Health and Human Services. Michelle, I don't think is on. No. Is there anybody from that committee that would like to make a report?
I don't think so.
No?
She had to go to, she had something came up, something urgent came up.
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to housing, land use, and economic development. Eric? Eric was on. No?
Yes.
All right, we'll move on then. Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. We met last night. Our guest was the captain of the Parks Enforcement Patrol. And of course, those who were at the meeting stress the importance of getting the PEP squad over to this end of the district because they're housed over in Pelham Bay Park, and very often when there's a problem here, by the time they get here, it's too late to do much about it. We were disappointed to hear that some of their numbers have been cut. Usually in Bronx County, they had a squad of about 52 officers. They're now down to 37. So we're hoping that they will give our parks some attention over the summer months. All right, we'll move on to public safety, quality of life. Victor? Okay, Victor was driving when he first came on, so possibly he's not able to get on right now. We'll move on to traffic and transportation. Edgar?
Good evening. Our meeting was June 1st. We basically had a presentation from DOT in reference to Fordham bus redesign. We also had a presentation from NTA in reference to the ADA accessibility at Moshula Parkway. So hopefully we should be getting more information once September hits, and hope to see everyone at that next meeting.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Edgar. Veterans Affairs? Chad? Chad? All right, did Eric come on? Did Eric come back? Victor? Chad? All right, we'll move on then. Anybody here from the nominating committee that wants to say anything?
Secret election. Connecting outlets.
No? Okay. All right, our next meeting is slated for September 28th. But caller, I thought we were having a meeting, an executive committee meeting before the general meeting. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, the executive committee meeting is, yes.
The same.
Oh, I see on the agenda. Yes, it's June 28th. At I meant to say June on the agenda.
Okay, oh, okay, 5:30, right?
Thank you for catching.
Okay.
Yes, at 5:30 p.m. Location is still to be announced.
Okay, and that will be the personnel matter, hopefully by our executive meeting on the 28th, we will have candidates for the two positions that we have open.
Yes, so the two positions are closing on Sunday at midnight. And then, Monday is a holiday. So I will be getting resumes from the Bronx Borough President's office on the 20th. And then I'll conduct interviews that Thursday and Friday in hopes to have someone ready by the 28th.
Okay, that doesn't give you too much time, especially if you have to check references and all.
Yes, no, I'll be working, I guess, 24/7 during a couple of days,
Sure.
but it's okay.
Right. Okay, Yahira, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say for those who have graduates this June, that have graduated high school, elementary school, college, congratulations to them all. And because we don't get to celebrate our youth and when they graduate. So to those members who have graduates this June, congratulations and keep the good work.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, I see Chad on. Chad, do you have a report from your committee?
I don't think he can hear you because he's out. There he goes.
Yes, hi, good evening.
Okay, go ahead, Chad, if you have a
Yeah, so-
report from the Veterans Committee.
Yeah, so real quick, I just want to thank everyone who attended our Veterans Fair that we had. It was well received. We had a lot of community partners who are willing to help our veterans. I want to thank all our committee members, Toby, Jean, Emmanuel, and Hugo for their outstanding work. I also want to extend a thank you to you, Barbara, with your proactivity with the flagging event that we had. We're going to be meeting in September, and we plan to put together a few legislative recommendations that we might want to push forth, where we can actually provide some help to our veterans based on the feedback that we've been getting all year. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, good. Victor, I see you on. Do you have a report for us? Hopefully you can hear me. I guess not, and I think we lost Eric also. All right, I'd like to thank everybody for your cooperation tonight. It was a longer than usual meeting. And I'm sure Carla will be getting information out, because I believe as of Tuesday night's housing meeting that we will be meeting in person. Am I correct to assume that, Carla?
Yes, so the location for the housing meeting is 211 East 203rd Street. And I will be sending out a notice of that tomorrow.
Okay, is that one of the new buildings?
Yes, that's one of the new buildings.
Okay.
Well, new-ish. I think it's
Newish,
over a
right,
year
it's
old.
open, right, yes. Okay, thank you so much. All right, anything else anybody would like to bring up?
Hi, good evening. Sorry, this is
Oh,
Victor.
good, you made it, okay, because we were calling you and whatever. Your report, Victor?
Yes, good evening. We had a meeting earlier this month, Public Safety and Quality of Life. It was a short meeting. We did have officers on the line. They gave us a report on the crime statistics. There are a new set of officers that have graduated, so hopefully they joined the 52nd precinct. No high level concerns, but hoping for the future that we have more participation from other city agencies to public safety and quality of life. I do have a comment, and I apologize. I know it's late in the evening, unless this was discussed when I was in the car. Was there a discussion on how things might change now that meetings will be in person? Do we know if we're going to lose participation from many of the members? Have members brought up any concerns about not being able to attend meetings and so forth?
I think it's going to be an adjustment for everybody, but Carla, have you heard anything?
I have not. Something that I noticed is that CB6 had to let go of 8 of their members because they weren't able to attend in person. So I think we are definitely going to lose attendance, and we're also going to lose some members who are unable to attend in-person meetings, or aside from the housing committee meeting and the budget and our general board meeting, I think at least we'll have 2 months to adjust, like Barbara said, to going back in person. And I'm hoping that we don't lose anybody on the community board. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how attendance looked like before, when the meetings were in person.
They were good. I mean, we had quorums. It was rare that we didn't have a quorum. Everybody, they had to meet in person.
Let me jump in on this. So what the plan is to get through June. We're going to reconvene. I'm going to reconvene with Carla. We're going to look at what new members are going to be coming on board, what the new regulations are going to be, what are we allowed to be and not to be. And I'm going to circle back to every chair in the next coming weeks to see where things stand, because things are going to change with the new members coming on board. So you will be hearing from me in the next, right after, I would say, the first week or the second week of July.
Okay, that sounds
After
good.
this.
Thank you.
Can I make a Can can I just, again, I'm not sure where this conversation starts, but if there can be a push, or if the conversation can be moved to merge committees, because in my opinion, or my feedback is I think we'll lose a few members and we're not going to meet quorums for some of the committees. So I recommend that we start looking or having conversation about merging committees so we can keep the momentum that we had when we had these remote meetings. Thank you.
That is a topic of conversation that Carla and I will be discussing as well.
All right, I would like to suggest that each of us as committee chairs contact your committees once we hear from Carla where the general meeting is going to be this month, because I think it's important that we have a quorum to vote in the new staff people. So let's hope we can get enough people out for the June meeting.
And for officers.
Yes. Oh, and the officers too.
We're having an election. We have to have a quorum.
We have a lot of work to do at the June meeting, and if each of us could contact our committees, once we know where it's going to be, it might be helpful. Okay, do we have a motion to close the meeting? I thank everybody for their cooperation tonight.
Motion to close the meeting, Tahira.
All right.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, good night, everybody, and thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night, thank you.
Yeah, everyone.